What's up, team? I still gotta put all of my things on. How are you guys? I'm behind this morning. I'm trying to get caught up. We're gonna go over some handstand push-ups. Let me pull up our comment section over here. Stop looking at my butt. Oh, we look good, we look good. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good morning. Well, from wherever you're watching from. It might not be morning. It is a good day because we're going to go over some handstand push-ups. While everybody's kind of logging on, I'm going to put on all of my crap right here. The ankle is sore today. But because we did some running yesterday, which is awesome, feels good to actually run and travel somewheres and not be stuck on a bike or a rower. Or, I haven't skied in a hot minute. Been spending so much time on the bike and the rowers. Let's ski today. Gotta think of what training I'm gonna do a little bit later. How are you guys? I'm a little late to post about what we're doing today, but if you didn't hear, we're gonna go over handstand push-ups today. Strict and kipping. You guys are gonna get my full-on handstand push-up speech that I always talk to our new athletes about and why we do handstand push-ups, when we do handstand push-ups, if we want to do handstand push-ups, all of that fun stuff. And now the other doggy's out. All of the doggies are going crazy today. Hi, Dally. Do you want to say hi to everyone? Where is the back of this? Okay, so you guys know the drill. Ask me handstand push-up questions along the way. I'll be leading us through all the basics. We're going to start with, there she is. Hi, Dally. We're going to start with strict handstand push-ups and then get into the fun craziness of kipping handstand push-ups. And then make sure we hit all the points when it comes to this crazy gymnastic skill and how we usually coach a lot of our peeps through something that's a little bit on the crazier side right now. Make sure we guide people in the right direction of developing skill, developing strength, and always keeping them safe in our crazy CrossFit world. Let me grab Dally before she escapes. Dally! Come on, girl. Let's go. Let's get into this thing. When we're talking about handstand push-ups, we're talking about an upside down press. And that's what we're going to keep in mind today as we start getting through our handstand push-up journey. Hang on. Okay. So, I've been trying to be better about this when we start our live videos. These are the two movements we're going to do today. We're going to start with strict handstand push-up. Oh, the shoulders are not warm. Strict handstand push-up and the kipping handstand push-up. I probably just got pink all in my hair. I used a chalk line to draw out our line. But upside down pressing. Let's talk about the basics of what we kind of need to get started on your handstand push-up. One, obviously a kick to handstand. That's where you want to start before you start going for the handstand push-ups. It sounds silly that we have to talk about that. But yes, you need a kick to handstand before you start doing your handstand push-up. I have a kick to handstand program to get you guys started on that. It's awesome. It goes over the basics, get you guys entering the fear factor of being upside down. And then a lot of the same drills that you're going to use in developing just upside down handstand holds is what we're going to use to develop the handstand push-up. We start in kind of like very similar progressions, except instead of just holding, we're pressing. We're using a box. So that being said, when it comes to pressing, I got my barbell right here. Looks like this. Bar is in a front rack position. Bar goes up and back to a tall stacked position. I have to do that same thing when I'm upside down. So a lot of what we're going to talk about is how your head and your hands are positioned, what we want to be doing mechanics-wise as we start to press our body up to a tall stacked handstand position. And then when we get to kipping, it's a lot of just timing, mechanics, coordination. And we'll go over how I usually train strict versus kipping, how often we do it. So, because just like all of our CrossFit movements that we do, the biggest argument you probably hear all the time in CrossFit is that strict versus kipping pull-ups, that's the most popular one. We use them both. We use kipping to be more efficient and be able to get more volume. Same idea with the handstand push-ups. We're going to use strict a lot to build a nice strong foundation. And then when it comes to efficiency, we're going to use a kipping handstand push-up. But we got to start, just like anything, with our mechanics first, slowing down the movement. And what better way to do that than just develop a really strong strict handstand push-up and lay out a good pressing foundation. So when we're going to start with this strict handstand push-up, we're going to start more than likely on the box, not kicking up our body weight over our head right away. So going back to this, starting in a front rack position, pressing all the way tall, stacked overhead. This position right here is what we're going to be talking a lot about first. This is called in this front rack position, this is going to mimic your tripod position that you're going to be doing when you're upside down, balancing on your head. This is probably the biggest fault that we see a lot on handstand push-ups, that causes issues with your shoulders, that causes issues with your neck if you're not doing it right, and puts you in really wobbly, unstable positions for a skill like this. So when I'm in this front rack position right here, and I'm going to press a barbell, couple things. My hands are in front of my face. I can see my hands right here. That means my head is behind them, and when I turn upside down, we're going to make a tripod position. My camera is sitting on a tripod right now, so it's very stable. You guys are going to be a little tripod between your hands and your head, like so. And then when you press this barbell, we say the barbell goes up and back to stacked all the way overhead. When you finish your handstand push-up, you're going to be tall and stacked overhead. Plain and simple. It's going to look exactly like this press. So let's get into our first kind of movement. We're going to do knees on the box handstand push-ups. This is one of your easier variations of handstand push-ups. I have a floor version too. I'll show you guys. But this is where a lot of our beginners start learning the tripod position and how to move your head forwards and backwards to create a nice strong press and good mechanics. Knees are going to go on the box. Hands are going to be flat on the ground. My booty's kind of poking up in the air. My belly is still tight. And then what I'm going to start on how to initiate this handstand push-up is my head is going to go away from the box. In this case, forward. Sometimes it's funny to talk to people about their handstand push-ups when they're already upside down. Because then we're like, what's forwards, backwards? What direction am I going? Because you're upside down. So just think away from the box first. My head moves forward to this tripod position. Oh, I can see my hands. I can see them. That means I'm in a good tripod position. And just like that barbell goes up and back, I'm going to get pressing back to that stacked position where my ears are covered. I start and finish right here. I come forward or go away from the box. My head goes down. And then I press back up to tall and stacked. This is the issue we see a lot in the beginning, and especially when you get to the wall. I'm going to bring my camera over here when we get to the wall so you guys can see some bad examples and see if you're a culprit of missing the tripod position. And it's going to change your entire world when you fix that, guys, because you're going to be stronger, because it's a stronger starting position for a press, and you're going to be more stable on your hands and your head and your neck because the weight is distributed between 1, 2, 3, and not just all stacked on your head. Okay? Hand width wise, there is a line right here. That's a standard in CrossFit. Okay? It's 30 inches wide and 10 inches away from the wall. When you're trying to go fast and you're short like me, you can use a really wide stance like this with my hands to shorten range of motion. But I will tell you guys this. There is a sweet spot of wide enough to where you're going pretty fast or you're shortening the pressing distance. Just like if you've done bench press before, and some people that compete bench press go wide grip or narrow grip. It's a shorter range of motion. But there is a point where the wideness becomes a weaker pressing position for you. So this is a standard line that I have drawn on the ground. I'm not sure how well you guys can see that standard line, but for someone who's short like me, I don't typically use the whole line. Sometimes I do if I'm getting a little bit fatigued, but then I start realizing I might be a little bit stronger from a more narrow stance. So when you start your handstand push-up journey, think hands slightly outside of your shoulders, like here, because that's where a comfortable pressing position is going to be. When you're doing handstand holds, you're usually stacked, hands right under your shoulders. When you're doing handstand push-ups, it's okay to take it a little bit wider, and that should feel more comfortable for your pressing. So one more time, on the ground, start from stacked, my head goes away from the box, and then I press my face back to the box to get stacked. All right, another thing I want to point out right here is what I'm looking at. For handstand push-ups and you're doing a headstand at the bottom, it's really important that your head stays neutral like this. Sometimes when we're first practicing on the box or our beginners are practicing on the box, I'll catch them wanting to look at the ground or tap their forehead on the ground. And what that does to this is it puts your neck in a really sketchy spot. And it's not like they're going to do anything crazy up on the box, but we're trying to translate this over to the wall next. And if I'm looking like this, I can't expect to be doing a headstand on my forehead with this crick in my neck right here, this angle in my neck. So I got to start training right away to just keep my head neutral. You should be able to look at the opposite wall, in this case the box, but when you're kicking up to handstand, you should just be looking at the opposite wall away from you, so your head and your neck are neutral and your spine is just boop, stacked, one vertebrae over the other, okay? So when I'm on the box right here, I'm looking at the box. The very tip top of my head goes to the floor. I can see my hands and the box, and then I press my face back to the box. The next step from that to making it more challenging will be piked on a box so you can get more weight on top of your hands. I get my knees off of the box, my head goes down just like we did before, and I press back up to tall stacked at the top. Here's a bad example of missing that tripod position. Watch my head. Ew, that's so nasty on my shoulders. My shoulders are internally rotated. All the weight is sitting on my head right now. I cannot see my hands. And if I were to take a barbell or any weight and try to press it like that, my shoulders would just be in these ugly, ugly pressing positions. And that's what happens a lot on handstand push-ups, and it just wrecks people's shoulders. We don't need that. We don't want to do that. We want to build that good, strong tripod position and be able to press from there. So knees on a box and piked on a box is where everyone starts. There's no kipping on the box or anything, so it starts building a nice, strong, strict foundation. And then, when you get good at that, you can flip the box higher, do piked on a box this way. And when you get pretty good at doing this tall of a handstand push-up, piked on a box, you're probably pretty close to be able to get ready for the wall, because you're already doing a lot of strong, challenging, strict handstand push-ups right there. So use the box. One other thing I want to go over before we get to the wall, because we will be going over ab mats on the wall. You can always put an ab mat on the ground as a good target, so you're consistently touching the same surface every single time. Realize when you put these poofy mats right here, it does limit your range of motion. I will talk about that more when we get to the wall over here and when you should use ab mats, and maybe put an S with an asterisk on that. I'm going to talk on that here in a second. But these are also a great tool for telling you how to do a tripod position. We have the word ab mat right in the middle. My hands can go at the bottom corners of the ab mat, and I make sure my head goes all the way to those words and comes all the way back to stacked. That's a great tool to help me train the tripod position. So use those as needed. Okay. Yay! Let's go over strict on the wall. I'm going to take you guys over here. How we doing today, folks? Are y'all having fun? Okay. Let me set up my spot over here. That looks pretty good. Okay, so you guys can see the pink line on the mat. I did draw that out to standard. So it's 10 inches away from the wall. and then 30 inches, ooh, I gotta scoot this up a little bit, 30 inches long. Let me show you guys some of my standard strict handstand push-ups that you would see me doing in a workout. It looks like this. Oh, my shoulders are toasted after doing a pump sesh. Ta-da! Strict handstand push-ups. So the standard is my hands, any part of my hand, whether it's a fingertip or my whole entire hand, has to be touching the line. Head goes to the ground and then comes back to full extension. Ooh, side note, you got to start from a full handstand. See people skirting that all the time. Start from handstand, head goes to the mat in good tripod position, comes back to stacked all the way overhead. That being said, your handstand push-up should start in a tall handstand position where everything is squeezing tight. Oh my gosh, I've been coaching so much gymnastics with you guys that if this is not burned in your brain yet, I don't know how to get it to you. Tighter is lighter. You start the skill tight so you can stay tight through the whole skill, so you can stay lighter through the whole skill. What is the phrase that we've been saying a lot on our gymnastics work lately, especially up on the pull-up bars? Long tension. In gymnastics, we get tight by being tall and long. Same thing in your handstand. If you're starting your handstand short and yucky and heavy like this, why do you think that's going to be easier when you start doing the actual handstand push-up? How about we kick up into your tall handstand position so I already start feeling lighter for the press and I don't have to figure out how to engage all of my muscles mid-movement. Tall. That's where you start. That's where the standard of the handstand push-up starts. That's where your skill should start every single time. And then from there, it's all the same rules of the box. In this case, my head goes towards the wall to create a tripod position, and then it's going to come back to tall stacked. Here we go. Tall handstand. I'm stretching tall to the ceiling. My head is going to go towards the wall so I can see my hands. Tripod. Now in strict, it is much harder to pause on your head like this. You might just want to tap it off the ground as long as you're tight. But then you press all the way back up to tall stacked. It's a lot more subtle when you're looking at it from the wall standpoint. But I promise you, I can feel my head going towards the wall and then coming back to tall stacked all the way overhead. My body is one straight line. It's this PVC. One of my very first handstand videos is called Be a PVC. It's angled like this into the wall. That's why if you change your angle or back your hands too far away from the wall, there's a point where it's not going to feel very good. If you're too close to the wall right here, your butt and your body's going to push you off of the wall. You use this 10-inch line to find that good angle. You stay tight like this PVC. You start and finish here. Be a PVC. That video will be timeless. I need to bring that one back up. Okay. And that's going to take us, that nice long angle is going to take us into kipping is where we're headed next. The other thing that I want to talk about is how to use these ab mats. When you're doing something like strict, obviously there's not much magic or magical cues I can tell you about strict besides it's developing a lot of upper body pushing strength and a lot of core strength. I do have in my notes that I'm building out a 50-day strict handstand push-up, very similar to our 50-day strict pull-up, because it just takes a long time to build that upper body pushing strength, the same way it takes us a long time to build that upper body pulling strength, just like anything. And there's no secret cues or hacks to kind of work around it. You guys just got to get super strong through your shoulders, through your midline, and then make sure while you're doing that, you're keeping all of those muscles strong and those joints safe and putting them in the best position to be able to do all that. So when it comes to strict handstand push-ups, we usually let our athletes use one ab mat, and not stack them all the way up like using multiple, because you don't want to lose that range of motion. There's a point where it's not going to be helping you so much. You should just go down to the box, try to get your head all the way to the floor, and come all the way back up over just doing these little short reps. Just because you're on the wall doesn't mean it's making it that much harder, okay? I'm going to talk more about how to stack things up to help you when it comes to kipping. Now, I know everybody's here for the fanciness of kipping. When we coach fundamentals and we go over handstand push-ups in our gymnastics session, I always start with, hey, welcome to the CrossFit world. We're a little bit crazy around here, and we do like to do some fun party tricks. Now, we'll always make sure your fun party tricks are not getting dangerous and putting you in sketchy situations where you could possibly hurt yourself. So if handstand push-ups is something you want to learn, excellent. I love to coach it. It's super, super fun. It's a great skill to learn. It promotes great body awareness, upper body pushing strength, core strength, but there are other great ways we can do that if you're not comfortable getting upside down. Quite frankly, you just don't want to balance yourself upside down on your head. A lot of our athletes, when they're doing handstand push-ups in workouts or on a handstand push-up day here at Bolt, you'll see handstand push-ups on the wall. You'll see deficit handstand push-ups that are even harder. You'll see box handstand push-ups. And another great one, if they're not a big fan of getting upside down on top of their heads, is they'll sit on the ground, they'll grab a set of dumbbells and Z-press. All of those are great movement or great skills for us to use mid-workout that all kind of do a great thing for us in building that upper body strength and core strength and getting your shoulders stacked all the way overhead. That's a part of this skill too, is that mobility of getting tall and stacked. So I always tell them in fundamentals, we're going to try it. We're going to get upside down on the box. And then in the future, if you're not looking to do these dynamic kicks up the wall, I'm not going to fight you for that. You're in here to get your good workout in, make sure you're staying safe and developing all the strength we want you guys to have in the best way possible. So with that being said, we'll get into kipping. Now, this is where we're trying to be more efficient. We're going to start from the same place, that tall stack position. And when we get to our tripod position at the bottom, this is where things get a little bit crazier. I'm going to move other parts of my body so I can use other muscle groups and use different mechanics so I can be more efficient, save my shoulders, and be able to do more reps. The tripod position at the bottom is going to look different. I start in handstand. I come down to tripod. Now my knees start to bend because I'm going to close my hips, my hip joint right there. So eventually I can kick, open my hips, and return back to my full handstand position using a powerful hip extension. That hip extension creates power. It's going to launch my body up to the ceiling, taking extra weight off of my arms, so in turn I can do more reps. So we have to go back to that tripod position at the bottom. When I have what I need at the bottom of this handstand push-up, I am stable and ready to be aggressive on this kick. If we're doing the tripod position incorrectly, which usually means I'm missing the tripod or my head is too far in between my hands, you're not going to be able to kick. It's going to feel really rough on your neck and your shoulders. And you're probably just going to hit the wall or do something crazy like that because you're not stable. So the biggest thing is making sure my head goes back to the wall. And now when I bring my knees down, I'm not losing my core right here. That is still being tight. My back is almost flat right here. When you get to bigger deficit handstand push-ups, you might have a little bit more movement through your trunk to get a bigger kick. But most of us should just have our booties on the wall, bringing our knees down to this froggy position and staying tight right there. So when it's time to kick, I just get as tall as possible, okay? You don't need to worry about all of this. You don't have to do all of that rounding your back. At the bottom, I want to make sure you guys can see this. So let me move my camera over here. And Blitzy Boy came to visit us. At the bottom of your handstand push-up, my booty is the only thing resting against the wall. So watch. Here, down. My butt is the only thing touching the wall. My back is not on the wall. It's just my booty, just so I can balance right here. And when I go to kick, I'm going to start stretching everything like I'm getting pulled by a string or a rope up to the ceiling and getting to my tall, stacked handstand position. The hip extension, we like to say, this movement is very, very similar to a thruster. It's an upside down thruster. Let me move you guys back a little bit so I have more room to move my PVC out. Boop. We call it the upside down thruster because at the bottom where your knees are bent, you're going to be in that full squat. Ignore my ugly squat right now. My ankle is so not warm. But from here, that looks like the bottom of my handstand push-up. And when I go to extend my hips on a thruster, we make sure we open our hips first, and then the press comes second. So I can get all the strength, all the power out of this before my little muscles start to go at the top. My smaller muscles up here start to go at the top. A lot of us that have these handstand push-ups a little bit funky, or the incorrect timing on handstand push-ups. If I flip you back right side up after doing your handstand push-up, a lot of you guys might look like this. That don't look right, right? If you're pressing too early, you're not getting anything from your hips. And then it sounds really, really clunky. We actually listen to a lot of the noise that's happening on handstand push-up. If it sounds clunky, our timing is all off, okay? So we're focused on extend the hip, squeeze all of this tight, and the last thing to start working is your arms. An upside down thruster is what you guys can think about. Okay, let's look at some handstand push-ups right here, and I'm going to show you guys some ways you can kind of build yourself into that timing. I start from full handstand. I come down to my tripod position. I lower my knees. My booty's the only thing resting on the wall. I'm focused on my hips opening and my legs stretching up first. And then at the last second, my arms go to press. Let's see if I can do a bad timing example where I press too early. Here we go. Bad example right here. And I'm very heavy hitting against the wall and not getting much help from the whole kip, the reason we do the kip. I want my hips to go first and then my arms go to press. So that takes me back to my very favorite, all-time favorite handstand cue we ever use when we're teaching handstands. This is tall. This is taller. Like you're being measured up against the wall. You're trying to check your height when you were a kid. This is tall. But then you always stretch a little bit taller. And you'll notice that all of these muscles turn on as you're trying to stretch a little bit taller. That's what you need to feel when you're going to kick and do your handstand push-up. When you're going to extend your hips, you're going to get even taller. So we get all of that open hip, that hip extension helping you as best we can. That is also going to lead you to a really good finishing position where my heels, just like you started your handstands, your heels should be the only thing touching the wall. A really nice handstand push-up avoids all of the dragging up the wall, getting stuck against the wall because you kicked. You stretch tall, and really, if you get a handstand push-up, let's see if I can do it, that kind of looks like this. Uh-oh, that's technically a no rep because my feet didn't go back to the wall, but it looked pretty nice because I kicked straight up, I got really tall, and then I just missed the wall. I fell a little bit that way, so that's actually a really good miss. If you guys practice any handstand push-ups that you're trying to avoid this whole hit the wall and drag your feet up the wall, that's a great miss if you actually miss this way when you're working on your timing, okay? A lot of folks end up, when they're learning handstand push-up, end up putting an ab mat down. Just like we talked about on the box, this is a great training tool for tripod positions. My hands can go here, my head will go to the words, and then I'll be set for my tripod position. Now the ab mat in any type of surface you put under or next to your hands, in this case, lessens your range of motion. So it's an easier version of a handstand push-up. My head doesn't have to go down as far, but I still do all of the things I need to do to learn this handstand push-up. Just like anything. That totally distracted me, the PVC falling. I was like, good thing that didn't follow me on the handstand. But just like anything, there's good and bad scaled kind of like, or progressions you can use. When we're doing handstand push-ups in here, I like to usually only see, these ab mats are pretty thick too. I usually only like to see one ab mat down. But when an athlete is like, coach, I'm just trying to figure out the timing, and I'm working on this as skill work, not as like a strength piece in a workout. I'm like, cool, let's stack it up a little bit higher. And not by, I'm not a big fan of this double stacked ab mats because they get all wobbly for your head. This is what we'll normally do. I'll take a plate, put it under their ab mat, and this is purely skill development right here. Timing. I don't let them do this in workouts because in workouts, I would rather see you go to a simpler variation or a progression that allows you to get more range of motion. But when an athlete is having a lot of trouble figuring out the timing of kick and then press, that timing, we'll usually give them a little bit less of a distance to press so they can focus on just opening those hips super fast. And when that timing starts to click, then we get that extra height out of the way. We'll go back to what's closer to flat on the ground. And that is the best way I personally like to see people progress on their kipping handstand push-ups. Is they start, if you're using some extra mats or a little bit of height, your focus is you're working on your timing. If you're still trying to develop strength, that's when we should maybe possibly think about going back to the box, supplementing with some extra Z pressing with some dumbbells, because doing a bazillion reps that just look like this, that's not helping you get the strength. And actually, a lot of people struggle with that very bottom portion of the handstand push-up, whether it be strict or kipping. So make sure you're just using your tools right. That's usually the way we like to see it. And that's kind of like, we're getting to the end of handstand push-ups right here. Let's do another set of kipping. Head goes down. My booty's the only thing touching the wall right here. I get taller. Come right back down. I get taller. And really, I said I was going to go over kind of like how I train handstand push-ups, or how Matt and I really plan on developing a skill as fancy as handstand push-ups. Very rarely in my training do you see us doing kipping handstand push-ups. Just because as a former gymnast, I have the coordination that goes along very nicely with doing the handstand push-up. Like I could bust out sets of 50 kipping handstand push-ups because I've gotten so efficient and really good with the timing of it that most of the time in my training, you'll see me doing strict handstand push-ups. And believe it or not, even though having a gymnastics background and being small, upper body press is not one of my strong suits. So we've been hammering a lot of strict handstand push-ups, and doing strict is usually the way to go, and supplementing with any type of pressing, Z pressing, barbell pressing. That's how we get super strong. That way when it comes time for competition and there's kipping handstand push-ups, we're strong. We already got the skills and the timing to be able to hit kipping, and we're ready to hammer them if kipping handstand push-ups shows up. When it comes to doing deficit handstand push-up, the only difference is when you have a longer press to go, you have to exaggerate everything that you're doing. You have to wait longer on the kick. You have to stretch taller because everything just takes longer because you have a longer press. We'll pick a day to go over deficit handstand push-ups and all that good stuff. Right now, I'm going to go see if you guys have any comments for me. And if not, I'm probably going to wrap this thing up. Handstand push-ups can get pretty fancy. Hopefully that helps some of you guys. I didn't know what skill I wanted to coach this week, and then I was like, wait, you know what? You know what? It's going to be handstand push-ups. Let me go to my comments. Ask me questions. Okay. Hola. ¿Cómo estás? Should I do strict handstand push-up before trying kipping handstand push-ups? We kind of went over that. And you guys love, wait, who's that? Sarah, is that you that says you love the strict pull-up program? Guys, I love that strict pull-up program because it's so easy to get in so much work. That's why I want to build a strict handstand push-up program almost exactly like that. The work on that strict pull-up program literally takes you less than 10 minutes a day, and there's days where you're not even up on the pull-up bar because we don't want to overdo our shoulders, and there's lots of other muscle groups that go into learning something as simple as a strict pull-up. So I want to do the same thing with handstand push-up. For strict handstand push-ups, my best suggestion, and as long as I'm such a hypocrite when I'm like, be patient, because usually I just rush into other things, and I'm trying to teach myself to be patient by growing sunflowers in the front, and they're actually growing now, and I'm having a great time watching them. Anyways, sorry, off topic. The best way I feel like you could build into learning a kipping handstand push-up is exactly how we started this video, is you start on the box, you build the good tripod position. You can make those piked on a box handstand push-ups. You can make, let me get you there, these guys by flipping a box up and going piked, really tall piked on a box, so challenging to where it's almost just as hard as on the wall, and develop that strong, strict foundation. Along with that, work on your kipping, your kick up to handstand so you can start tall and tight. Your next step in between those two would be kick to handstand, lower to tripod, and then kick off the wall like that. Combine those two together, then you're ready for handstand push-ups. I am always such a big fan of learning strict before kipping. Mechanics, consistency, intensity. Mechanics, consistency, intensity in that order. Learn your mechanics, keep the movement slow. The box and keeping it strict does a great job of forcing you to do that. Consistency, doing that over and over and over until it becomes second nature. And then intensity, or speeding up the movement, speeding up the workout, comes last. So we are safe, have a strong foundation, and feel good about the movements that we're doing. Always, always preaching mechanics, consistency, intensity in here. So yes, I am a big fan of learning strict before kipping, especially when it comes to handstand push-ups. Kill, let me see if I got anything else from you guys. Alrighty, I'm ready. Yes, I can share. When I stop this video, I'm going to put the link to the strict pull-up program and all of my programs in the comment section so you guys can shop those. $5 fitness, always good. Ooh, another good questions. Okay, keep asking me questions. I'm not hanging up just yet. Hey Christina, my coach says don't turn my hands out so much and don't go wide. How wide is wide? So at the beginning of this video, I talked about using a wide kind of pressing stance over a more narrow one. In handstand push-ups, you're typically right outside of your shoulders, and that's where we want to see you guys. Just like any type of pressing, there's a sweet spot of this seems like a good kind of distance to press the bar. If you were taking a barbell from a rack, notice your hands are right outside of your shoulders. If I was strict pressing this barbell, and they're not way wide out here, because you're not gonna, even though this is a shorter press, it's not as strong of a starting position. So kind of take the rules of your strict press with a barbell. Start hands right outside of your shoulders. That looks pretty good. And then I would suggest that for your handstand push-ups. If you guys look at this, and then how I kick up to handstand, right outside of my shoulders right there, that feels pretty good for me. Sometimes I'll go a little bit wider just to be a little bit faster for competition, but hands too wide can actually almost hurt you even though the press is shorter, just because it's not as strong of a pressing position. As far as hands tilted outwards like this, that has everything to do with where you're stronger as an athlete. So think about bench press or dumbbell. I get this question all the time on push-ups and like dumbbell bench press. My athletes are always like, how do I position my hands when I'm pressing? If I was doing push-ups and I had my hands positioned straight forward on the ground, that's kind of like more tricep-y, a little bit on my delts and my pecs right there. And I can use different types of pressing depending on what I'm trying to get out of my training that day. Do I want more through my chest? Do I want more through my triceps? When you see athletes that are very much stronger through their triceps, they usually tilt their hands out and their elbows are more narrow. That is not me. That is not me. My triceps are the weakest things on planet Earth. But you'll see them point their hands out and then pull their elbows in to make it more of a tricep-y press like this. Those push-ups kind of look like this. Okay? When it comes to best shoulder positioning, I find my hands being slightly, let me step closer to you guys, like this. Is very, very comfortable for me because I can lock my shoulders into place right there, but I'm not like this. That's kind of putting your shoulders in a funky spot and you're losing all of the work you could get from your delts and your pecs a little bit. Obviously, we can overdo that by internally rotating through those shoulders. Those shoulders, that's why they give us so much trouble. Everybody's got all these little shoulder tweaks that always happen and everything because this joint just does so much. That ball and socket joint, there's a lot of little muscles that help stabilize it. And sometimes muscles get overworked depending on your hand positioning and what you're kind of used to or most comfortable with. That's why shoulder accessory is such a big piece for our training that we do around here. We're always doing extra shoulder accessories, crossover symmetry, reverse flies, anything that happens to or strengthen those scaps back there. So I hope that helps you guys. Thanks, Christina, for your question. Hey, Gabriella, how can I lose my fear of hurting myself when doing handstand push-ups? I know I can do handstand holds, no problem. Girl, I got you. It's not rocket science. I promise. You go, you trust the basics. You do reps on reps on reps here. And then you can start by kicking up and slowly lowering yourself into a negative. If you're so fearful of where your head is tapping the ground on these ab mats, stack up an ab mat or two just so you get comfortable in knowing what that's going to feel like tapping your head on the ground. And then if you truly know you've done your work when it comes to the basics as far as building a strict foundation or a strong foundation right here, you shouldn't be having all that fearfulness, especially if you have a strong handstand hold when it comes to here. But if I, as coach, know you have a good handstand hold, and know you've done your work on building a strong foundation, and you're just like, I am so scared to start bending my arms on the wall over here, and I know you're ready to, I might take this plate, put it under this mat, even add another plate if you need it, until that mat is so close to your head, and teaching you that you have the strength to be able to lower yourself to that, and then start scooting those mats away. But a lot of that comes from us working as coach and athlete, and hopefully you have that relationship with your coach for them to be like, Gabrielle, you're ready. I'm going to help you get more comfortable with these handstand push-ups because I know you've done your work here, I know you've done your work here, and you're ready to go for it. Then we start taking out those tools of like just getting you comfortable, starting to bend your arms, and then giving you that confidence, that reassurance that you are ready for that. But a lot of that comes with just knowing you have the foundation, you've built the foundation. I love you guys. You guys are asking so many good questions. Best I can do is negative handstand push-up. What is the next step to take me to be able to do a strict? Negative handstand push-ups, beautiful. I love negative handstand push-ups. Yeah. Negative handstand push-up is just this. Okay, going down. If you are stuck at that flat surface, negative handstand push-up, and you're like, I've been stuck on that for way too long of my life, and I can't get past it, two things you can do. And these are my two suggestions for that. Add a deficit to make it harder. That means put plates on the side of your hands and make the deficit longer. Really make sure you're holding yourself accountable to right before I tap my head on the ground, I'm staying slow and I'm not just going 1, 2, on my head. At a deficit is one, but an even better one is go grab you a set of dumbbells and start getting strong at Z pressing. Sitting on the ground. Z pressing. With tempos. Without tempos, building the heavier. Z pressing is definitely one of our best tools to be strong at handstand push-ups. Negatives, amazing. I love them so much. But if you're like, I've been doing these forever and I just can't seem to get past them, we got to start adding some other things into it. Like maybe making it a little bit harder with a deficit or building up just more upper body pushing strength with some heavy or challenging, not necessarily heavy, challenging Z pressing. Okay, should we wrap it up there? This is my longest live video so far. Yay! I love you guys. So many good questions. Okay, be on the lookout. I know in the future I'll definitely have this 50-day strict handstand push-up going. Other than that, there's lots of programs on my website at RebeccaFuselier.com/programs. $5 for every single program. It's always $5. Because we crazy around here and we put in the work, and I want you guys to have all of the tools that you guys need. Other than that, I think that's a wrap. Blitz, you got anything else? He's sleeping over there. There he is. You want to say bye? Bye-bye. We love you guys.